There we go. I noticed that the feed's about 10 seconds behind, so that's good. Cool. Jeremy Knight with the Night Group. Let me get rid of some of these. There we go. All right, Jeremy Knight, the Night Group, your favorite Austin realtor. I also got your second favorite Austin realtor, Ian of Austin, on tonight. We do have a splendid show for you tonight. So I got some really good friends from around the Texas area that are not native Texans. So we are going to go over quite a few topics today, kind of what we all know now, which we wish we had known before we moved to Texas. We're going to talk about all the crazy city rivalries. Most asked questions. I got a full long list of great stuff here. So if there's like a stereotype or if there's a question you have, we have agents from all over Texas on this stream tonight. So start dropping those questions in now. And as we go through this, we'll answer those. But first off, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. This year has been a crazy year for this channel, and I owe a lot of it to all of you who have supported me through this time and watched all the videos, liked, commented, shared my videos. I really, really do appreciate all of you for doing that. It really, I wish I could really explain how much it actually means to me, because really a year ago, this channel wasn't what it is. And you have made it amazing. So thank you for that. This week was supposed to be a video week. I did a video. I got 4 hours into editing, needed 10 more to go, and just got a little burnt out. So next week's video will be coming out. I will have the time this week to do it. We're going to talk about the neighborhoods that you should be looking at for 2021 in the Austin area. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully it'll be out Tuesday of next week. It will be out Tuesday of next week, 9 a.m., my normal load time. So keep an eye out for that. All right. I'm going to bring on some awesome, amazing guests. So we have amazing people from Houston, from San Antonio, Ian's in North Austin, so we're pretty much going to call that Dallas. Figure, and really nobody wants to hear about anybody from Dallas right now anyway. I mean, Dallas is so far up there. It's pretty much Oklahoma. So really, we're pretty well represented statewide here. Here we go. Let's add all my friends. I got Katie Day out of Houston, Tim Macy out of San Antonio, and representing pretty much Dallas is Ian of Austin, one of my favorite people.
South Dallas.
South Dallas, right, yeah, South Dallas. So we all should have beverages tonight because this is the end of the year. I myself have brought in some Texas bourbon. Tim's got the Lukenbach. Bang, come on, Ian. People from Dallas. People from Dallas don't get it, man. I'm telling you.
I spent a lot of energy just a minute ago.
Oh my
God. You're drinking an energy drink? That's psychopath.
Yeah, Katie, what do you got? What do you got for us today?
We have to have energy for this. Got to bring it.
All right, so let's get into this. Really, us as all of us have been different walks of life that have come to Texas. Let's go around the horn, talk real briefly where you're from, what brought you to Texas, and like the number one thing that you're just like, I wish I would have known this before moving to Texas. I mean, Katie, we'll start with you. She moved to Houston, so really that's kind of like, just Eastern Louisiana, but we'll start with
Western Louisiana. First of all, Western Louisiana.
Oh, yeah, whatever. It's whatever.
Geography.
Hey, I am the geography major, by the way, so I should have known that. My bad.
Okay. So I'm in Houston, Texas. I'm a real estate agent here. Have been in Houston since 2011. I think the thing that I didn't know about Texas was the, I don't know. I would say the culture. Like there's so much great culture and great food. And I would say everywhere, but definitely in Houston.
Very cool. Ian of Austin, let's hit you up next.
So I moved to Austin, 6 years ago. I was a corporate trainer before that, and I said, I got to do this quality of life improvement thing. Checked out Austin, fell in love, came here. It's been great. What are we talking about? We're talking about what we do or what surprised us about Austin?
Yeah, what surprised you about Texas in general, but you could say Austin, yeah.
Okay, what surprises me about Texas? You ever heard of a Dobson fly?
No.
Okay, a Dobson fly it looks like an earwig that's this big, the size of a writing utensil. And it is huge. It's harmless, but that's mine. A Dobson
Got
fly.
it.
You have your bugs video on your channel, and I think that's important for people to know.
I wish I would have had that on there. Tim
Yep.
Macy.
What's
Tim
happening?
Macy's from like where are you from again, Tim Macy?
Doesn't matter.
I'm in San Antonio.
Where are you before San Antonio?
So my wife and I packed everything we could into my Ford Focus and drove down here in 2013
All right. From where though?
from southeastern Connecticut. And I was talking to her tonight, like, what am I going to say on this thing? She says the one thing we wish we knew or wish we did was buy real estate downtown when we first moved here, because we've watched obviously the property values take off up there. So she wishes we bought more real estate sooner.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
Can I redo my answer? I'm going to go with Tim on that. I wish I would have moved here sooner.
People from Dallas, man. Look at Ian over here.
I wish I would have moved here sooner for sure.
People are already calling me out on my hair. Yeah, this is not. I didn't do anything today except for take my son to the Wildflower Center. So I was trying to take some time off and didn't really look in a mirror before I jumped on a live stream. So whatever. All right. So you know me, Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor. Ian's in here too. He's really Dallas today, so we're not going to count him there. But yeah, so I moved from San Diego in 2013, the very beginning. Really, the one thing that I have noticed and what I wish I would have known, and yeah, I wish I would have moved here sooner. Obviously, everybody can say that, but I think how amazing the people are and the absolute culture, how cool the culture is. That's been the thing. So little words like saying the word y'all, how amazing that is to actually be able to say y'all. Because after you start saying you guys for a while, and then you start saying y'all, you're like, well, it just makes more sense to say y'all. Like, right?
Less syllables, man. Less
Right?
syllables.
And then when people are mean, you just say, oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right?
I say that to you a lot.
I know you do. I say it back. Oh, bless your heart. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. Doesn't mean what we think it means. All right. So let's roll down this list. Anything else that you really feel like you wish you would have known before you moved to Texas?
I think for us, HEB was a big one. We shopped at like this super Walmart grocery store for a while because we didn't realize that HEB is what it is. And so it took us a couple months to realize that we need to just be spending all of our time at HEB. So that's something you definitely need to know before you come down.
Right on. Katie, who did you pay for this comment right here? Katie is the best realtor in all of Houston.
I don't even know who that is. Username, but I'm here for it. Yeah, I like that.
Hey, that was my brother with the hair comment, by the way. I told him to give you our
Did
time.
Nice. Well,
he's on a beach in Thailand right now and took time out of his day to talk bad about your hair.
It's that bad.
It is that bad. Yeah. All right. All right. So let's talk about some Texas stereotypes. What are some of the stereotypes that you were kind of shocked that weren't or were true? Katie, I'm going to go to you first. Like pretty much every time, Katie, you better be ready to have an answer like that.
I know. I should have taken better notes.
And the reason why is I put you on top because, we love Houston so much that I just got to go to you first. So here we go.
Should I back from channel vulgarities like that?
Yeah, no, you're fine on here. It's acceptable as long as you don't talk about the word of the pandemic. Then we're good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. What was the question? I wasn't listening.
Exactly. People from Houston, either they're cheating, not listening. So the question was, what stereotypes about Texas did you either realize were true or were completely false?
So I think I didn't really know what to expect because I actually had never been to Houston before actually moving here. So like, I know I didn't think this, but I know like one of the stereotypes is like, it's the Wild West and people are wearing, cowboy boots and riding horses. And while we do have people riding horses, it's not frequent. You know, and I do wear cowboy boots almost every day, but like, you know, I'm just, it is.
I mean, it's almost rude not to wear cowboy boots. So, yeah. Ian, what do you got, man?
Southern hospitality. I'm actually very impressed with it. I remember when we first came here, we were driving along the road, and it was, one road either direction, one lane either direction. And there was a guy that was in front of us going super slow. Sure enough, he pulled over. You see his hand come out the window. He's like, "Come on by." And I'm from Chicago, and I'm thinking that doesn't happen. Is he
flicking me off? What's happening here?
No. Yeah. I know. He was like, "I will allow you to go past." I thought, bless his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, I was very, very happy.
Yeah, I think you went the wrong way with that. So yeah,
I know.
You might want to re-Google what that means. Mr. Macy, what do you got, man?
Yeah, for us, I didn't realize coming from southeastern Connecticut, where it's very rural, how much I enjoy living in a diverse city. Like the diversity and the culture, like that's not something that I thought I wanted in a place to live. But now that I live here, when we go visit other cities like, Nashville or Kansas City, we spent some time and I'm thinking about these different places. And they're all cool. They're all interesting. But I think the thing that I've fallen in love with the most is that culture, is that diversity, is all these people that live here, the big melting pot. It's just something that I haven't seen as much in other places that we've gone. And that's something I definitely enjoy a lot.
Well, you actually stole my question, or what I was going to say. And I was going to say, like, I was shocked because, the perception or the stereotype that I always hear, and I get people ask me this question all the time as a realtor, but I always hear people like, "Oh, Texas is so racist," or "Austin is so racist," or, look, every state has areas where we have people who are, not cool. Right. And the one thing I've noticed is that I think, every city could use isn't super diverse, right? Like Austin, I think is fairly diverse. Ian, I'll get your opinion on that. Cause there's a guy that I follow, his name is @BlackRob. He left. I was actually gonna do a video on him. He left Austin because he said it wasn't diverse enough. But what his reason for it not being diverse enough was on the food culture. It wasn't necessarily like racially diverse. He felt it was pretty diverse, but not, so I think that's one thing. I mean, everybody assumes that Texas is just a racist state. I mean, I don't know. I think every single person on this podcast is in a biracial relationship, right? I think everybody's married somebody.
Oh, all right, yeah.
I mean, if you think about it,
that's incredible. Yeah.
Isn't that
that's
true?
a good tidbit.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that's, if that's the thing, then, we're pretty diverse group here. So,
I will say though, on that note, I spent some time in some other southern states, and there is a different segregation that I've witnessed in other states, right? Like when you go to like a Mississippi or like an Alabama, like a lot of these, they're a lot more black and white. Like just it's different. But the cities here in Texas are very diverse, and that's where I found the cities. Now, don't get me wrong, if you shoot out into the country of Texas, it gets very white very quickly.
Right.
But on the same end, though, I do think that as a whole, obviously, like you said, Jeremy, when it comes to diversity and people's views, they're all different. But as a whole, I feel Texas more prides themselves on independence, right? And so it's like a you take care of yourself, I'm gonna take care of myself, and like we're very like independently driven in our ways like that.
Hopefully for sale by owners knows that they should be bringing better Mexican food, but yeah. So anybody else want to chime in on that topic, and then we're gonna head to the next one.
Well, Ian, you should say something because I don't want to just hear from the white dude talking about.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are we talking? We're talking about diversity here. I would say.
I didn't want to point out Ian, right? I wanted him to chime on his own.
People come to this channel and watch the lives because we keep it real.
Yeah, it's a hard question, and I don't want to get booted off of YouTube, but I will say that I personally have never felt unsafe. Maybe that's one way to say it. I think that it took me a minute to find a barber shop, but that's because I didn't know what I was looking for. And I'm gonna show you. Look at this. I don't show my hair a whole lot because I always wear this hat.
I didn't even know you had hair.
I know nobody knows. So
Yeah, I thought you were bald, man.
no, well, I mean, I shave it a lot, but yeah,
Okay.
I mean, so I walk into a barber. I'm telling you, you type barbershop in Austin, and what you walk into is these guys getting their beards trimmed, and they've got the little combs, and it is not the same vibe that I was looking for. I'll say it that way. Took a minute, but once I understood the pockets and there is plenty of diversity. Just got to know where to go.
For sure. We have a lot of questions rolling in here, and a couple of them are asking. I'll get to some of these in a second, but a lot of them are asking. A couple are asking about the markets. Since we all are realtors, I think at a certain point in here we should chime in. We all have different perspectives on our markets. In fact, I just did a video about Texas as a whole, so I'd be curious to see everybody's kind of state of what you think your city is going to see next year. So we'll hit that. If people have questions about that, make sure you type it in that you do want to hear that, and we'll get to it. Let's talk about city rivalries. Obviously, I wish I knew before I moved here how important it was not to live in Houston or Dallas.
Yeah,
so I did realize
agree with that.
I did realize that. I mean, so much so that we didn't even bring anybody from Dallas on here. Katie Day, I mean,
it was my idea to do this.
It was actually
to invite me.
You had to come on.
He tried to cut me out, but I reminded him that it was my idea, and he'd have to pay me like royalties or topic.
Yeah, I didn't want copyright infringements. So
yeah. Get my IP attorney on you.
Yeah. That's good. So I would say really, do you think that there is major city rivalries? I know we all give each other a hard time on here, but is there really a city rivalry between each city?
I think to some extent. Yeah. I wouldn't say like knock down, drag out, fight, but I'd say there's some rivalry, especially like sports teams, like Texans, Cowboys. Yeah, if you were a fan of one, you normally don't like the other.
I don't think anybody cares about the Texans.
Yeah,
I don't. But
I do think the Cowboys are a little more well loved in Texas. I would like to see the Texans actually do something though. That would be great to actually have like a Super Bowl year. I'm not like trashing on them. I'm just being like completely honest. I'd actually love to see them be successful, to be the champion team other than that cheating Astros team in Houston. Man. Is somebody salty? I mean,
I don't know how many times I've done streams with you, live stream videos, and told you that I'm not an Astros fan, but you keep bringing it up.
I know, but you're from Houston, so we just have to talk about it.
Well, I also think that it's funny that like you're trying to talk about Texas and you're wearing something from California.
I know.
So
it's because I love Texas so much that I left California. I'm letting people know that I left California to come here. So there you go.
California, my Texas, man.
All right, no, I think that's the real thing you got to talk about.
For sure. Tim, lead it up.
Is the don't California my Texas? Is like, how do people in Texas view people that are moving in? And I think it was funny. The meme now is like the governor issued a stay-at-home order for Californians to stay in California and not come to Texas. It's pretty funny. But I think that's a big thing. I think people worry about like moving here and how they're going to be perceived when they move here. And I have to say, I haven't seen any of that. The only place I've seen that is in Facebook comment sections, but I've never seen it in real life. Everybody that we've met here has been super welcoming and super friendly. But I think that's something that I think is on people's radar when they're coming down here.
I think you did touch on something. And I think the online persona is always, and if you look at my comments on my YouTube channel, it's one of those things, and because I talk about taxes, and that's something we should talk about on this, but I talk about taxes a lot. And so in Prop A and Prop B that just passed in Austin. So people are very passionate about that. I think, and I said this in some other videos, is that I think people that come here, and if you are trying to specifically California, Texas, and not just coming in with an open mind and being just an honest, nice person. I think that's the biggest thing about Texas. What I've noticed is that everyone on this channel, while we are on this group, while we all give each other a hard time, all of us would go have a beer with each other in a heartbeat. And I think that's what is so cool about Texas, is that while we might, have online personas and be angry and not like the California and my Texas thing, we'll still go have a beer with you.
Yeah, I would definitely get a beer with Katie and Ian. Just
so I'm 2 of 3 on here.
Yeah,
3 of 4,
sure.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, Ian, how do you feel that Katie's leaving you out? Like, that's mean, man.
She's not leaving me out. She's
Leaving you out.
She purposely
Yeah, you're gonna come here next weekend.
Yeah.
We already talked about it. But
I'm not
I think we like each other. I don't know if it's one-sided. I like her.
Yeah.
No, another note too is, though, in my experience, we've helped a lot of people move here from California, and honestly, not that we are, Jeremy, I'm very not political. I don't really get that passionate about anything when it comes to politics, but I will say we found that conservative people living in California moving to Texas have been our best clients, best transactions, and overall just good deals. And that's what I see moving to Texas are people that identify with Texas values that are coming here. And so I don't see the whole California, my Texas thing really happening. When I do see political stuff like Texas moving more blue and turning Texas blue and all that stuff, not that I think it's going to happen, but all that stuff to me is more coming from people that are from Texas living in inner cities. Like that's where most of that, in my opinion, is. And it's not people moving in here, because people are literally picking up their livelihood and moving their families to a place that they have aligned with more values wise, right? Like it takes a lot to move here, and nobody's going to move here if they're doing it not agreeing with the values. They're not nobody, but you know what I mean? As a whole, most of the people that move here, I think, are coming here for Texas values.
What do you guys think about that? When the clients you're working with, we all work with a lot of different people, right? I mean, I would say, to go on your point, I'd say it's pretty evenly split. I mean, I don't know. I never ask anybody their political values or, their values when they're coming over, obviously. But, I'd say to the point that people are coming for a better life, for sure. Definitely coming for a better life. But I mean, what are your experiences, Katie and Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our clients, especially moving from places like California, most of them were living in, 900 square foot condos with their family, and selling it and moving here to move into a 3,000 square foot house or 4,000 square foot house. So I think, just from a cost of living perspective and things like that, they're moving to be able to have, more space and more opportunity, more job opportunity, things like that. Obviously politics generally, as Tim said, kind of don't come up. But yeah, I mean, I would say it's more lifestyle than politics for the most part.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have had very few people mention politics in general. Like, I want to live in this kind of area or this kind of area. Most of the time, just like Katie said, it is quality of life, cost of living, and just and weather and diversity and culture. That's what people are moving here for. So it's been incredible, and all walks of life. You mentioned that earlier, Jeremy, and I think that's a really important note.
I said something smart. Look at that.
You did.
All right, we can end it. This was fun, guys.
I do have on my list here from my good friend Paul from Allstate. I do have on here one question: why does everyone hate Houston? So can we answer that question real quick?
I'll take that one. So
I wanted to say I go second.
Okay,
go ahead.
I like how we're all jumping for answers.
Sorry.
Right?
Bye, Katie.
So one thing, and Katie, look, I don't want to spread misinformation. So if I am incorrect, stop me, correct the point. But my brother-in-law lives in Houston, and so we drive out there a fair amount to go see him, and I've driven out there a bunch of times. And one thing is they don't have very strict, or they didn't have very strict zoning laws when Houston was kind of started, and so stuff is just all over the place, right? And the highways are just all over the place, and I've never been able to figure out. It's never made sense to me, and everything's just kind of everywhere. and I just don't like going there. That's my issue with Houston. I'm sorry, Katie. I hope we can still be friends. But that's my shtick.
Boy crying about taxes. I'll have to go look up this because I definitely want to.
That's one for Houston, but I'm not going to take that one since it's already up on the screen. The one I'm going to say the one I'm going to say is it is very humid. And there are a lot of people that already moved. They moved to Austin and they're like, oh, it's hot. I said, but you haven't been to Houston. That is hot, double hot. It is the worst. And I like heat. No offense, Katie.
Yeah. So we, Tim and I actually first met by going down to Houston to actually help with the hurricane relief.
Yeah. Is that the first time we met in person?
That was the first time we met in person. And I have to admit, I found a special love for Houston when I was there. And it was how much I disliked Houston.
I was going to say, you can't do that. Go and just play that card and be a hero.
I'm not sucking up to Katie. That's not what's happening here.
Oh my goodness.
Katie's the reason why Katie's on this channel. She can dish out so much and take it so well. So
hey, and for the record too, when we went down there, Jeremy didn't do anything. I was there doing all the work. He was sitting there drinking beers and hanging out,
To my credit, I was trying to slow down the heat exhaustion from all of the sweating I was doing watching you work. So
yeah, which is crazy because I didn't think you get heat exhaustion sitting in the car with the AC on.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was brutal down there. This is a good segue. So let's talk about weather. So, Tim, you're in Houston. Ian, you're in Dallas.
Right. North Austin, South, triple South Dallas. Wait, we didn't let Katie defend herself.
Katie, come on.
I think that's the right thing to do, right?
Let's go ahead and take Katie off the feed. No, go ahead, Katie. Defend yourself.
Okay, so I guess where do I start? As far as weather goes, yes, it is hot in Houston and it is humid, but it is also hot everywhere in the summer. And it was 70 degrees today. I was walking around with a t-shirt on half the day. It was glorious. So that'll be, my December plug. But
you were wearing a t-shirt, shorts, and cowboy boots. Just be honest.
Right. Yeah.
I was actually wearing pants. But yeah, there were boots on, of course. So that's that. What else did you guys say about my lovely city?
Hey, I'll give you a shout out though for Houston is like you're close to the water. I'm coming from southeastern Connecticut, and it does to not be near the ocean. And I know it's the Gulf, and I know it's not that great, but still,
it's not that great.
It's there,
We've got thank you, Tim. That was very nice of you.
She was like,
compliment, right?
That was very nice. As far as the highways go, we've got 3 loops, and then we've got 2 north-south and 1 east-west. It's pretty simple.
You mean traffic?
Yeah.
Not as bad as I-35. Done.
Ooh, I don't know.
So
our traffic is not as bad as I-35. It's like a 1-lane highway, and everyone drives on it.
All right,
I'll time 35 as a 1-lane highway.
It's like it is 5 lanes. It really is. On either side.
None of them do.
Right. We're gonna have to come back.
I really enjoy how you two are trying to defend I-35. I purposely would rather drive to Houston than Dallas any day of the week to avoid I-35. So you guys go ahead and defend the I-35. I will not. And yes, I said the I-35. So people are going to give me a hard time and say, "Oh, Californians talking about I-35." Yeah.
Wait, question. Pull up your T-shirt real quick.
Yeah. So this is the undershirt that I was wearing. It's also a world. I was prepared for this in case I got hot, which I did. So, champions.
Yeah. No, I think we should all get in the bus and go drive around Texas and rate the traffic.
I love that idea. That's a really clever idea.
Stop at Buc-ee's.
Terrible.
I'm not driving though.
Houston's terrible. San Antonio. Tim tried to tell me that San Antonio didn't have bad traffic. I tried to go on to Sal Padre a couple weeks ago in traffic, and it was god awful. So
where were you?
Was it like 5 p.m.?
I-35.
You were at 35 between Austin and San Antonio.
No, in San Antonio.
Oh, get out of here! It's not that
in
bad.
San Antonio. It was
crazy.
Awful. Yeah. So yes. So people that are thinking about moving to Texas, the traffic does suck. We don't have very good rail systems. There you go.
You don't have any rail systems. Get out of here.
public transit is pretty bad.
No,
I think
she's
people need
probably
to understand that.
It doesn't.
her opinion does not matter. I'm sorry, Christina. Don't kick me out of the YouTube group.
Sazank's here. Everybody say hello to Sazank. You're late.
Hey there.
I hope you had a very good taco because he said he was going to be doing Taco Tuesday. So I hope you enjoyed your Taco Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay, so we've gone off the rails a little bit here because of Katie's malfeasance. So let's talk about bugs. Ian brought up bugs earlier. Let's talk about how bad or good is everything actually bigger in Texas? Does that really apply? Is that stereotype apply?
It is. It is. Except, yeah.
My income tax isn't bigger.
Yeah, but your property taxes.
But your property taxes. Yeah.
You know. I tell Pon, I tell my wife, when we stop making a lot of money, we'll go buy real estate in some place that has lower property taxes. But if we're gonna make more money, stay no income tax and live
It's in South Austin. Yep, South Austin. It's got lower property taxes. I bought an investment property 1.8 tax rate. Boom. That's
Hey, why don't you put BG's comment up there? I see you're avoiding his comment.
This one?
Yeah, that one right there.
No, don't even see it. No, don't.
That's right, BG.
Oh, okay, Ian. Let's there we go.
So I wanted to show you what this Dobson fly is that I was telling you about.
Oof.
This was on my garage as I was pulling into the house or pulling into the garage. Backed out. I went and got my salt shotgun, bug assault, if you've ever seen it online.
I was like a salt shotgun. Is that like an AR-15 combo? I've never heard of that.
It's a shotgun that takes table salt. I'll go get it later, but yeah.
Does it have those horns on it? What?
Yes, it has that. This is a real thing. I've seen 3 of them. It's called a Dobson fly. It's harmless, but I wouldn't put it in my hand like these people are.
Oh my goodness.
That
I've
thing,
never seen one of those.
Look at this. Look at this thing.
So the only wow.
What?
Yeah.
That is here.
No, we're so we're not scaring people here today. But
You don't want to talk about the bugs?
Yeah, you said is everything bigger, and I'm showing you like this is real.
I think that's an Austin thing. San Antonio and Houston are the place to be.
So San Antonio, when we first moved here, we moved into this apartment complex that they had just built. So it was previously not an apartment complex. And our first month there, we're watching TV in the living room, and this scorpion just came right across the living room floor. And I don't know how, but I was like Spider-Man. Like I was in the corner of the ceiling and the wall, just somehow up there. And then I had to smash it with a shoe or something. But yeah, scorpion across the living room floor. Other than that, nothing crazy. That's the only thing we've had.
We've had rattlesnakes, scorpions. We back a greenbelt. So our new greenbelt, we put one of those mesh fences along the back fence. So I haven't seen a single rattlesnake in my yard, thank God, in my new house. But I get raccoons that come up because I may or may not feed the deer behind my house. Yeah. So they try to get into the corn. I mean, they try to get on my back patio.
What, are you gonna poke one of these deers with an arrow or something? Why are you feeding the deers?
No. That's there's a whole land thing, and you don't really want to shoot something on somebody else's land. It's kind of a thing here in Texas,
So why are you feeding the deer?
Because they're beautiful animals. And I'd rather them be there instead of on the highway, get run over by Tim Macy coming up I-35.
Okay. All right. I don't
know if I believe all this.
Yeah, right. It seems sketchy.
Most people feed deer to shoot them.
That's what I was gonna say. There's a reason people feed deer.
I did go deer hunting over the weekend.
I know you did. That's why I'm talking about your deer feeding in your backyard.
My good friend Paul from Allstate.
Are you sponsored now?
Yeah, he's gonna. I'm bringing him on the team now. Just kidding. All right.
Jackie's got a good question.
A comment, that's one that we were going to bring it up, but you called it cockroaches. We call them water bugs. Okay, it's important. True. It's important.
Who calls
Big
them
difference because it's not the infestacious American cockroaches or German cockroaches or whatever. They're water, but like there is a different genus or whatever they call it, but they are big. Usually there's 1 or 2. If you see more than that, that's a problem. But usually there's 1 or 2 over the year.
I didn't realize we had a bugologist on the on the thing.
No, well, when you see something that looks like a mouse and it has wings on it, you're going to start investigating what this is.
So we do.
There's
Jack
someone
brought it up. I
there's
mean, look, I
one
have
from
them
here.
in my house, and I think what is it when it's real hot and they're like coming inside.
Exactly.
Yeah, we put out a bunch of those little traps. We're usually fighting with those all summer. I usually hear a scream in the bathroom when there's one in sight, and I have
Through
to get
the drains, right?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and then
you-
those more traps, and they
So
go.
I got a
Yeah, those are
tip
pretty
for
normal.
you.
Your Airbnb, Jackie, was fine. The cockroaches are fairly normal.
There is a tip though. If there are palm trees, apparently they're really attracted to palm trees. Right? So if you live in Houston and there's palm trees, because we don't have those in Austin very much, then you're going to have more of those water bugs. So San Antonio, do you have a lot of palm trees in San Antonio? Probably not,
we
right?
have them, but we don't,
Like a handful, right? Like some people put them in their yard or maybe at the mall.
Yeah.
But it's very rare.
Yeah, I moved from Florida to Texas, and I saw more bugs in Florida than I did in Texas.
Yep.
Like, so water bugs, we called them palmetto bugs.
Palmetto, yeah.
You know, but I mean,
Not the beetles.
I live in the city in Houston, and like, I mean, we don't see that many bugs. I haven't
And
seen
you
any.
got you got Florida man over there too.
I love this comment right here. Man, music capital of the world, that shocked me. Milan, Barcelona, London, Paris, all better. Look, in Texas, we like to, we love Texas so much that the rest of the world doesn't really exist outside of Texas.
Also, can we talk about the username California? Kind of funny.
I like that. Yeah, I thought that's why I had to throw that on there. It's pretty
Is
impressive.
it going to change in the future, or is it just saying California?
I mean, it's going to say California, California is probably
Now in
what it's gonna
Texas.
say.
Okay.
Yeah. Now
Maybe
in
it's
Texas.
Robert California.
I've got a comment for this one right here, but I'll wait. I'll let everybody else.
Which one?
That
This
one
one?
that's on the screen.
Yeah, your
So
basement.
first off, we don't have basements.
So yeah, that's for, yeah.
So forget about that. And then mosquitoes. Here's what's interesting.
But you're in Dallas. You have tornadoes there, so isn't that
No.
right?
How? Yeah. Why do you not have basements?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the mosquitoes. We'll come back to the basements, but the mosquitoes, if you're in Austin proper or even North Austin, South Dallas, Round Rock area, you don't have as many mosquitoes, especially along I-35. And here's why. We have the largest North American colony of bats. And during the summer months when mosquitoes would be rampant, you actually have a lot of bats that come out from under the South Congress Bridge and also the bridge along I-35, and they eat all the mosquitoes. It's amazing. So if you live kind of out in the suburbs, then you might have more mosquitoes, especially if you're along the lake or a green belt, like Jeremy said.
I want to go back to this music capital of the world thing. I didn't realize Austin called itself the music capital of the world.
We're everything capital of the world.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Music,
I'm all for
tacos,
embellishing.
breakfast
But, I mean,
tacos.
that is just ridiculous.
fitness capital of the world.
We're 6th Street capital of the world. Best places to move.
Best places to
Better than Houston. Better than Dallas. I mean, those have all been those are all facts at this point.
You know.
Katie said something about tarantulas. Yes, I saw a tarantula this big on my house. No, I did find a big tarantula one time. That was quite entertaining, and I enjoyed it. So
Yeah, we've had some friends in North San Antonio see some tarantulas.
North
San Antonio.
Yeah, I thought that was a dig at Austin, but it wasn't. He was just being
No, like
serious.
just the northern part of San Antonio.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you mean San Marcos?
He's truly sincere, and you guys are both like staring him down.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm outta here.
Yeah.
Another beer.
So I do have some other good questions I wanted to get to. We got some good questions coming through. So if you have more questions kind of about Texas and stuff like that, we'll start with this one. Lex, welcome back, man. Appreciate you. When's the best time to visit Texas? I'm planning on a family scouting trip for the next year. I'm just going to go ahead and say the best time to come out is like late February, really March through like April, May, like early May. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I mean,
Or
what do you
in
guys
the
think?
fall, I would say.
Yeah,
but
September,
better-
November.
I think it depends on what you are visiting for,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're visiting and you're going to spend a lot of time outside, which most people do, if you're okay with that temperate weather, then yeah, like Jeremy and Katie, and I think you said it too, Tim, but spring and fall. But if you
Well,
like the heat, you
I
want to
would
be out in the sun,
Yeah, Lex, I would also think though, if you want to move here, like if you're not sure you want to move here and you're trying to contemplate moving here, you may want to come when it's a little warmer because you may want to see
You
if
get
you
here in
want to
August.
deal with it. Like we moved here in the fall and we fell in love with Texas. And then that first summer we looked at each other like, what the hell are we doing? Like this is awful, you know? And you get used to it and it's not that bad. But if you're like on the fence about whether or not you should move to Texas, you may want to come when it's a little warmer so you can kind of feel it, you know?
I don't think, I mean, we live in Austin, obviously Ian and I, well, he's more Dallas, but we're just going to keep hitting that well all night.
Yeah.
Get a new joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, when it works, it works. I did a video on the weather. I would say literally 70% of the year, Texas is pretty nice, except, I mean, maybe not Houston. I'll let maybe Katie talk on that, but it's pretty nice most of the year. I mean, Katie's talking about 70 degrees and she's out in her cowboy boots kicking stuff. I don't know what she does. I don't know what there is to do in Houston, but
bunch of nothing. There's a mall.
Yeah, is there a mall? Do they have that in Houston?
They have one with like ice skating and stuff.
Look, hey, I like keeping it real. There's plenty of stuff to do in Houston. You just can't get to any of it because the traffic's too bad.
Right. The best thing to do in Houston is to drive to Austin.
Katie, I love how it's, I mean,
she's waiting. Wow. She's going to come back.
You know what? Let's let Katie jump in here. Let's let her defend her.
No, it's fine. I also just don't understand like where Tim's going for all this. Like San Antonio, really? Like it's fine. It's fine.
That's the thing about San Antonio. That's why people like San Antonio, because we fly under the radar. Nobody's really paying attention to us. We're a big city, but we don't feel like a big city. And then none of you guys none of you guys even think to make jokes about us, you know?
Because you are a joke. It's San Antonio.
She's been holding that
Houston
one.
Versus Dallas versus Austin.
Number 4 on their list, rivalries. There we go.
I started off with like there's not many rivalries, but now we're all going at each other.
Yeah, that's just our like personal hatred for each other.
That's the best comment. That comment is a mic drop one right there.
I told you, PG. I like this guy. And text Jack, hey, why don't you
put your real name as your username?
Comments about yoga instructors per capita in Austin. I thought that was good too.
That's true. Those are facts.
I would say San Antonio is the ugly stepchild. I just think it's the. Wait, no, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
No, San Antonio is the quiet kid that's actually better than all the loudmouths. That's what San Antonio is.
Yeah, it's true.
The one that never gets picked for anything, you mean?
It's the kid that sits in the corner and reads books. And then
right.
Yeah.
I think we got more NBA titles.
One that never gets asked to dance.
Does anybody else have more?
More what?
I mean, NBA? I mean,
yeah.
Do you know that?
So what's interesting is
I don't pay attention to sports.
We have the Austin Spurs, which is a feeder team to San Antonio. So if you want to get the people that are still like hungry and actually trying to get good or trying to show off their talent, then come to Austin and watch them.
No,
and then they get to San Antonio, they kind of give up.
For sure.
They're like, we made it now.
No, that's very awesome of you. Like everybody gets a trophy. Our team's good. Everybody's, everybody's equal. That, yeah.
We do have a lot of yoga instructors. I'm not going to lie. To Tim's point, I don't think he had a point, but we'll just give him a point.
Yeah. Let's hand him a point.
Yeah, this is a really, really good one right here. I like this one. Also, breweries in Houston versus Dallas and Austin. So I went to Houston for a bachelor party. Why they want to do it there, I don't know. But we actually stayed in Galveston and we went around Dallas after Houston after a baseball game. And I gotta say, it was pretty cool to go around. I mean, it wasn't hot. It was nice. There were some cool places like go have beers and stuff and hang out. And it reminded me of Austin, which was cool. But to answer this question, sorry, weird tangent. Austin is pretty well known for its breweries, distilleries.
They're the craft beer capital of the world.
Is it also the beer capital of the world? Does it just call it?
Go ahead. There we go. I just made the stream so much better.
Perfect.
Dallas does have, I mean, I know we don't have anybody from Dallas on here, but they do have a few really good breweries in Dallas. So
like 3 or 4.
3 or 4. who's the winner on all this? Obviously, we're a little more represented by Austin here, so definitely Austin. But Katie, defend yourself, please.
We have so many craft breweries. St. Arnold is the original.
I thought that was in Dallas.
No. Yeah, you did. Okay. Are you messing with me?
No, I was serious.
No.
I honestly thought that's the one I was talking about. They have good ones in Dallas. Well, I take that back. Houston coming back.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
So
Can we 7:45 p.m. Jeremy says Katie Houston. I'm done. We're done.
All right. Katie's out of here. Let's go ahead and remove her from the stream.
So look, I won't try to compete in this who has the best breweries, because I know Austin has some amazing ones. I know Houston has some good ones. I know Dallas does, but I feel like Dallas is just such a big metroplex that there's like not a lot of character in many of those areas. And I feel like having character to the area that the brewery is in is important. The one thing I'll say about San Antonio is the Pearl Brewery complex, in my opinion, is the best mixed use development in all of Texas. And I say that after going to a lot of them, but I don't think there's as unique and just intriguing multi-use complex like the Pearl Brewery.
So wait, was that the whole development is around this brewery?
Yeah, so they renovated this brewery. You know, it's got San Antonio's best hotel, 5-star hotel, Hotel Emma. It's got a bunch of luxury restaurants, condos, apartments, and it's around the brewery. Now, the brewery itself is okay. Like, it's not nothing special, but like the complex in and of itself is just amazing. Like, they did such an amazing job with it. So I think the Pearl Brewery is a place to check out. But when we're talking about the best craft brewery, it's not in the mix.
Here's the great thing about Texas. While we all have our differences, we can all agree that Texas made products are better than anything ever. Although I did move from California, and they do have some really good beers in San Diego. So, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of really great opportunities in Texas. I think that's the one really amazing thing, no matter where you go, whether it's Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, there's some really great Texas vibe places to go. And the Texas vibe is what is so amazing, right? When you go to some of these places, you're having a beer, you're chatting with somebody, you're like, oh shoot, this is what Texas is. Right, Katie?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Sounds great.
Hey, Jeff's got a good one. I like this question.
Yeah, I like this question. It was going next. I had so many good questions up here earlier in the chat that I wanted to try to get to, but a lot of them were talking about places to live. So I really do want to get into that.
But Jeff, I think the important question is, what kind of law are you practicing? Like, what are we talking?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. I've been in both cities, but however, concerning business, where are people more receptive to newcomers and startups? Definitely Austin. Austin has $1 billion in yearly startup funds, so or venture capitalist funds. So definitely Austin. I'd say Dallas is probably up there. Houston. I mean, a really big company came to Houston recently, right, Katie? Do you remember?
So HP's moving from San Jose to Houston. And then we've got like the innovation district where I think Microsoft and I forget the other company are both putting offices in.
I think look, let's talk about that, because we're kind of heading into that like markets area. And I think a lot of people on my channel really want to talk about the markets as well. So 2021, we're going to see headquarters and so you just said HP. Who else coming into Houston?
So Microsoft and a few other companies are buying out floors of this building in what's being dubbed the Innovation District of Houston. So they took basically an old Sears and they've completely changed the entire facade and everything. And it has like an incubator for startups and all this other stuff. But like each floor, different, corporations are basically, leasing out the entire floor.
Right. So
one thing on Jeff's question, if you're starting a new business, essentially is what he's talking about, starting a new practice. And I think there's a lot of people that come to Texas with this idea of starting a new business. And I think every city that we're talking about has its pros and cons. I think, like you're saying, Jeremy, Austin has a ton of funds out there ready to go, and they're very receptive. But I also think there's a ton of people moving to Austin to start a business, and that it's very competitive. And so I'm being perfectly honest here. Like San Antonio is a smaller pond competition wise, but probably has a lower ceiling, right? Like if you make it big in Dallas, you'll do better than if you make it big in San Antonio. So, I think there's definitely a feel for entrepreneurship that's different in every city.
I think an interesting note is just because you have more competition doesn't mean your pool of opportunity or pool of potential clients doesn't increase as well. Because so many people are moving to Austin and all these jobs are moving to Austin, along with that comes a lot of people. And because he's doing family law specifically, that would incorporate a lot of opportunity for amassing new clientele. So if you're different and you have a way to capture these clientele and their needs, I think it's a very lucrative potential.
Somebody agrees with you, Ian. So we're just going to go ahead and put that out there.
I like
Man, completely all caps.
South Dallas in the house.
And this is why I
North Austin.
South Dallas in the house. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not embracing that.
Yeah, please.
If we look at the companies that are moving to Texas, I was on Christina's channel the other day talking about 2021 in the markets. I've done videos on that. I have other videos coming out about Austin. Christina's in Louisiana, and they were very passionate about how the market's going to really turn in 2021. Look, if you HP, I mean, look at the name of the companies or the big names that are coming out here, the big companies that are coming out here. A lot of money is being moved to Texas. That's all. There's a good, and also there's a lot of bad coming with that, right? It's a mixed bag. So 2021, I want to get your opinion from each of you, because we're all in different areas. Even Ian and I are same area really, but we have differences of opinion on some things. So we'll talk kind of briefly about Austin, but I want to hear from each of you. What do you really think 2021 into 2022 is going to look like for your area based on what you're seeing in this market? I do want to start with Katie, because actually Katie's the best one on this channel. Let's be honest. Go for it, Katie.
I'm so happy you said that. No. Yeah, as far as 2021 goes, I think the biggest thing that we're seeing is from this year and moving into next year is that prices are continuing to increase. So, the lower priced homes are starting to obviously be a little bit more expensive, which is difficult. But what's been great about this year is interest rates have been so low that it's given buyers more purchasing power. So, most experts are predicting that while prices will still continue to increase throughout next year, interest rates will remain low, which should allow buyers to still be able to afford homes. What concerns me, and I think, Jeremy and I both talked about this a lot, is if prices increase and then interest rates also increase, there's going to be a lot of buyers that are going to be priced out of the market because there just aren't enough homes out there for sale. So that's really what we're seeing. As far as you kind of go up in price points, there are fewer buyers, so it's a little bit less competitive than it is, and I know it's relative, but here in that like 250 or less or 300 or less kind of category or price point. But I know that's a little bit different than Austin is.
What do you think the most competitive price point in Houston is right now?
I would say it's unreal under 200K. That 200 to 300K is still really competitive. And then 3 to 4 is still like competitive. You'll still see multiple offers. It's definitely busy. And then really once you start getting into the higher price points, like 5 and higher, like you still will see some multiple offer situations, but it's definitely not as unreal. Like, a house at 250 or less, you could have probably 10 to 15 offers on. Like, no question.
Under 250, 10 to 15 offers on.
Yeah.
Ian, that's what we're seeing in our market, right?
Do you guys even have houses under 250?
There are, in north of me, which is really far. What's that, Oklahoma?
Dallas.
Yeah. So like Gerald, Texas, or Taylor, which is still, it really is quite a bit north of the city. Those are the 200 price point, but nowhere near the city can you touch that.
So Tex, let me, I think somebody had said something about El Paso. I won't speak completely about El Paso, but my wife's family lives in El Paso. We spent a lot of time in El Paso. The market in El Paso has drastically changed in the last 2 years. It is not you used to be able to pick up a good, nice property under 150K, 150K, and live very comfortably. If you made like 50 to 60K a year in El Paso, you could buy a really nice house for 150K and be super in good position. That has changed. It is hard. Under 250 in El Paso has definitely changed. It's still available, but there's more competition in the market in El Paso itself. So, Ian, before we get to you and I and Austin, I do want to talk to Tim, just because he's wearing such a funny hat.
Great hat.
Yeah, I do want to hear from you.
All right, the whole week is a celebration.
I mean, you really are South. I mean, the Metroplex between Austin and San Antonio is one of the fastest growing metroplexes in the world. Really, it's massively changing. So even in San Antonio, you're seeing things, and a lot of people are actually moving to San Antonio for a lot of good reasons. You do have a pretty diverse workspace or work environment there. You do have military. You have a lot of things. So what are you seeing in your market, and what are you anticipating for 2021?
I mean, very similar to what you guys are talking about with that under 200 price point or the low 200 price point. Yeah, if it's a good house, it's going quickly. If it's not going quickly, there's probably something wrong with it. And that's what we're finding, right? Like, it's funny. Tex puts that message up of, seeing stuff on Zillow, and it's like, if the thing is on Zillow for 45 days in this market, there's something wrong with it, So you have to look at that stuff. I don't think interest rates are going to go up. I just don't think anybody in power is going to think raising interest rates is the right thing to do, unless we get some giant boom in the economy next year, which I think we'll continue to see a good recovery, but I don't think it's going to be crazy enough to increase interest rates. What I am a little worried about is building material costs continuing to go up. I think there's a lot of supply chain stuff and inflation and some other things that could happen that push the values of new builds up, which essentially pushes the value of everything else up. And then we continue to have a somewhat of an affordability issue, because everybody talks about Texas being affordable, but there's a lot of people that we work with that can for sure get solidly approved for 185,000, and we know that there's just not a lot of inventory there for them. And I think we're going to continue to see less and less of that affordable inventory.
I get calls, and I know Ian gets these same calls because him and I work together on a lot of projects, but I get calls constantly from investors. I want to buy something under 250, and then they recategorize that as 300K.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to Austin, I do want to ask both of you, because Ian and I will probably spend a decent amount of time chatting about Austin. If an investor comes to you in either Houston or San Antonio, and they say, I want to buy something under 250 and I want it to be rentable and seeing some cash flow, is that available right now? We'll start with you, Katie.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely available. I think that it's going to be a very competitive marketplace. So, if they're financing a deal, there's a high probability they're going to get beat out by a cash buyer. But I mean, the properties are out there, but I think what a lot of people are looking for is like getting a deal, right? So if they're financing, I've seen a lot of investors with pretty low interest rates, if a regular, person buying a primary residence is getting an interest rate between 2.5% and under 3%. I've seen some investors in the 3s. So the numbers look a lot better than they did last year, or the year before, but obviously the prices are a little higher. So it is doable. I think it's tough for investors looking to do residential rentals when they are financing the deal. If they're cash buyers, I mean, they have a little bit more flexibility with time and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I guess if someone's looking to invest, I would advise you to be as approved as you can be on your financing so that you can close as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we have these conversations all the time. And it's usually a matter of risk tolerance for an investor. So, I know Jeff mentioned investing, and can you break even? Sure. Right. Like if you want a decent property that you just want to stick a tenant in, that's a newer property, doesn't have that much maintenance, is going to be a straightforward, not a headache. Sure. Like you can probably buy something, break even, get some equity pay down, get some depreciation, get some tax benefits, and have an asset that you have a low interest rate on. That's great. But if you really want to like cash flow and everything, you're going to be looking at an older home. You're going to be looking at a lower income area. You're going to be looking at higher turnover. Like if you want more cash flow, it's going to take more management usually, right? Like on a big, obviously you can hit a home run and get something that doesn't have any issues, but it really depends on like what you want to do as an investor. Like, do you want to dig in and fix something up and build value in it and get your return? Then sure, there's a return there. But this magical thing of like, I'm just going to buy a fairly new house that doesn't need any work and stick a tenant in it and make money isn't really there, because everybody wants that. It's really based on how much effort, risk, and what you want to put into it is gonna be a good idea of what you're gonna get back from it.
And I'm gonna jump into Ian, and we're gonna stay on this investment topic, and then we're gonna talk about Austin. But here's one thing that we found in the Austin market. Ian and I work together in a lot of projects. We're very friendly. And that's why I like to have him on the channel, because he's a great guy. Not only that, he wears really cool hats. But here's what we find in this market. Yeah, here's what we find in our market. And I want to ask you both on if you're seeing this in your market as well, is that most builders, a lot of people, like what Tim said, and this is why I'm going to that. Tim said that a lot of investors want to buy something newer that they can just stick a tenant in. And I get calls, and I know Ian gets the calls because we work together constantly. I want to buy a brand new home with a brand new builder and then stick a tenant in there. Is that possible? Here's one of two things that happens. Number one, you got to make sure you can get rent in there, because I like to do that too. I've bought new builds and I put tenants in there, and it's been fantastic and it works. You can do that in Austin. The hardest part though is finding a builder that will sell to an investor in this current market. Because in Austin, I would say almost 98% of the builders will not sell to an investor for a couple of reasons. They don't want to see lease signs in the yards. They don't want people to see those lease signs and then start not buying in the neighborhood because it's all renters. So they don't sell to renters or investors, and they don't need to. There's so many buyers in this market, they don't have to sell to investors. So
you can come down to that in San Antonio. We're ready for you.
So can you and that's the question. Can an investor buy in San Antonio or Houston and do that same thing and make a little money?
For sure.
Or be cash flow?
Yeah.
I don't know about cash flow, but they can do it. Like, I don't know if they'll cash flow, but they will be able to buy a new build and put a tenant in it.
Okay.
There's some builders here or some communities here that I've seen that there's been restrictions in the docs as far as like when you can actually lease it out to prevent investors from doing that. But there are builders here where you can purchase and throw a tenant in.
Ian, what are you seeing in that as far as investors go? I mean, we both work investors in Austin. I just want to get your perspective.
Yeah, I think that I know that there are neighborhoods that will allow you to do this. First off, there are some builders that are just investor locked. They're like, we will not let any investors in any of our communities. But generally what you have is a neighborhood where they'll release a small percentage, maybe 10% of their properties for investors. And then after that, they're locked. The thing is, it causes such heavy competition because everybody wants to do that. It's oversaturated where you have a list, and I'm not kidding you when I tell you this number, 400 people deep, where they just blast it out to everybody and they're getting $50, $75, $100,000 cash offers over the list price of the home. It is ridiculous. So you almost have to know the secret spots to be able to capitalize on an investment in a shorter longevity. Because a lot of times the investors, they want to see a return on investment in 3 years or even immediately. That's not easy anymore because of the market saturation. You can, however, gain the appreciation because I do not see any slowdown in growth. And That's one of those things I've talked about that on my channel. I think that Austin is in a unique position. We're like the kid in school that does that always gets 112%. Like, and then everybody else is like 80s, 70s. And so we're staying very, very, very attractive to everyone. So I feel like if the market starts to slow down in some of the other places, we're not going to see that here. I feel like it's always going, or at least right now in the next 5 years or foreseeable future, because of all the jobs that are coming here, it will continue to grow versus some of these other areas.
Do you think, and this is a good question for everyone.
Well, I think it's a good question for Ricardo here too, because he's bringing up something I think it really pertains.
About moving to Austin, rent first, and planning to buy. Your thoughts on the housing market in the next year? So yeah, so I've done several videos on this, and I have more that I'm doing. The November numbers just came out. I'd have to do some configuring to pull up this, but the numbers in Austin, I want to say, and it was almost 15%, or no, it was 19% for the Austin MSA, 19% price increase year over year last month in November. We're talking about November, usually one of the slowest times of the year, 19% price increase. And we had another huge reduction in the inventory. And I don't see that slowing down in 2021. And I'm recommending this to most people. If you are thinking about coming out and renting for a year, the best thing you can do is get in, find a new build community with a lower-ish tax rate. Now, tax rate is something we're going to talk about next. So I'm just putting it on your radar. This is tax rate because it's something I talk about a lot. If you can find something in a lowish tax rate and put it under contract now and do a to-be built to close at the end of next year, I don't think, and this is where I think a lot of people keep saying, oh, the market's going to change. I don't think, just like you've said, the interest rates are going to rise to the amount to cripple our economy. So if you are going to move out here and rent, I would put a new build under contract, spend the 8 months and let it build out, because you've put the price in. Those prices are going to continue to increase all year long. By the time you close that new build, you'll have lots of equity in that property. And that's why I think it's good for most people that are thinking about doing new builds, is you're going to build equity through that whole thing. I'll let Ian talk in a second, but that's an opportunity. So if you're going to rent and do that, I would do that. I just don't. The smartest thing I ever did, and it's very close to Tim's point at the very beginning of this, is that the first thing we did is we bought a house sight unseen in Austin. It needed work. We did the work to it, and we sold it 4 years later and made a killing on it. So buy a property, make sure you're buying in a good area. Ian, you.
Well, I think we should address, because we've got some very good things we need to address in the comment section.
Yeah.
I want to hit Ian first. Go ahead.
The one thing I want to say, and it kind of like supports your point, the interest rates, here's the thing. It's a federal change, right? So it doesn't matter if it's Austin or Houston or San Antonio. If the interest rates do rise, that's going to be everywhere. So the question is more, are you renting and buying in the future? Because your purchasing power is going to change no matter where you move. So focus more on that, I think, is important. But even if they do increase, Austin has the appreciation to kind of support it. And someone said something about 2008. Well, if you look at it, if you go to the historical data for Austin, when 2008 did happen, Austin went like this. It didn't dive bomb like so many other places in the United States. And so I think that that's paramount when you're considering relocation.
And largely the reason why that happened, sorry, I'll let you talk. I apologize for cutting people off, not my intent. But partly the reason for that, Ian, is that builders stopped building in that time frame. Mm-hmm. And what's happening right now, builders are having an incredibly hard time building properties. Number one, they don't have the manpower to build. They're having to do everything off bids. So builders are really struggling right now to keep up, and they can't even get vent hoods or stoves or microwaves to put in their properties. So they're pushing back close dates. plumbing. They can't get anything. They're having such a hard time. And so all these people say, oh, the supply chains have freed up, which Christina said is ridiculous. It's a joke. Not in Texas. I mean, if the supply chain might have freed up in Louisiana, it is not improved in Texas. So we're going to still see these price increases. Go ahead, Katie. I apologize for cutting you off.
I don't even remember what I was going to say at this point. No. What I was going to say in regards to, 2008 to now is also the amount of inventory, I think, is a lot different. So, I think then inventory was super high. Right now, inventory is low. Right now in Houston, we're sitting at 2.2 months of residential inventory, which basically means if homes continue to sell at the pace that they have been selling, we would run out of homes in 2.2 months if no more homes came on the market. I'm sure it's super similar in Austin and
0.9.
Yeah, it was less than a month of inventory here.
What about you, Tim? What's your numbers?
For me, when I look at when anybody, because they're not wrong, right? When Jeff brings up the fact that like what we're saying sounds a lot like 2008. I mean, it does. We all talk about the fact markets go up and markets go down, and the market's been going up for a while. It seems a little wacky. That's when a person like me, who I think is pretty conservative, starts to worry and say, hey, like, is this market going to go down? And I like to think that, but if I look at the data and I try to be data driven and I look at inventory and I look at material prices and we look at all the stuff that we're talking about, we have a lot of friends in New York City. We have a lot of friends on the coast. I think there is a lot of chance for, we see some pullback in a lot of higher price point markets, like the $1 million markets, the $800,000 markets, the $3 million markets. Like, I think we could see a fairly significant decrease in value and pullback on some of those larger assets. But I really have trouble seeing how this plays out over the next 3 years, where a house you buy in Austin for $300,000 is not worth more than $300,000 5 years from now. When we look at the landscape, right, with the trillions of dollars that's being pumped into the economy, I know one of the worries that we have isn't prices going down and everything else, is inflation, right? Like what happens with inflation, and is that going to push prices up? Hello and Buy, which is a great name. Hello and Buy.
That's really
bringing up forbearance.
You've got comments really about taxes, which I was going to bring up in a minute. But
you've got forbearance and evictions not going on, which look, I think will have some effect on the market. But right now our inventory is so low that maybe it brings it almost to normal, right? But it's hard to believe because most of those forbearance programs are out of forbearance, right? Most of that stuff is already recovered. It's hard for me to see the forbearance and the renting problem pushing us into a different market. If anything, I think it'll give us inventory that we need.
I think one thing too,
which is sad. That sounds bad. It is a bad situation, but I think it's the way it is.
I think one thing with this forbearance is that a lot of people have a significant amount of equity. So like they may not have been able to pay, today or last month or during the pandemic, but they have enough equity. So if it did get to the point where, forbearance has run out and they aren't able to pay and they don't have the money, they probably have enough equity in their home to be able to sell and, not get foreclosed on. As opposed to, 2008, where they had no equity, they were already upside down and, didn't actually have the income. So I think it's a far different, story than it was then. And I think that, the government has put all of these things in place to avoid a 2008. They don't want to foreclose. The banks don't want to foreclose. They want to keep people in their homes. So, yeah.
I think what's important about what you just said, Katie, is that is absolutely the case in our cities in Texas. And that's where I was going with earlier. I think that for us, we are in that comfort zone where we can absorb the cost with equity, and that's great. The thing is, we have so many investors that are just waiting for a deal where you'll be able to sell your house. And I just did this a couple weeks ago, be able to sell your house, get equity, not take the foreclosure hit, and the investor wins, you win, and you can go get an apartment, rent for a year, and get back into a situation where you're in a more comfortable place and buy again, because interest rates will still be low. You'll still have purchasing power.
So we have a lot of really great comments, and I apologize we're not pumping through these comments a little bit faster. I think the content and what we're talking about is really important. So please keep your comments coming. I don't want to, I appreciate you dropping them in. I want to try to get to some of these. So please don't take me not clicking on your comment as that I didn't like it. It's just we're trying to stay on a really good track here, and I think we have some really good stuff we're talking about. So on my channel, I talk about taxes in detail a lot. And I think there's one thing that a lot of people are missing. And Hello and Goodbye has brought this up. So I do want to talk about this. And Sazank brought this up as well. And I want to frame this so everybody can be on the same, not necessarily the same page, but we can talk about it. How much percentage can property taxes rise in a year? Is there a Texas law that caps a certain percentage? So here's what I've said on my channel. And I want to get your perspectives on this because I think this is very important. And this is what people have been not paying attention to. To quickly answer the question is there's nothing capping how much they can raise your taxes, except you put a homestead. So if you're an investor and you can't homestead if you're an investor. So this is where investors kind of get screwed. So property taxes can rise, whatever. You can argue your property value. That way you bring your property taxes down, but there's nothing stopping them from going 100 times, whatever it is. There's nothing stopping. But here's where, and I want your opinions on this, is that a lot of people went on forbearance. I think it was at one point in July of last year, it was notated it was 32% of homeowners were struggling to make payments or were on forbearance. I want to say the numbers last I saw were close to like 10 million people, and that's not in Texas, just nationally, were still on forbearance. The question that I think the thing that will impact Texas in the next year will be property taxes because they are so high. I mean, in Austin, the average is around 2.21. Ian can fact check me there. But a lot of these new build communities, they're 3%. They're really high. Katie was on a couple of weeks ago. We talked about an area. She said something like 4%. Yeah, hurt my heart too. And I know San Antonio is no different, where you're seeing from 2 to 3%. But here's where I think we're going to see a lot of problems. And I do want to get, and I've drawn this out. I apologize. It's all this freaking bourbon. I apologize.
That bottle was full an hour ago.
No, I put water in it. I watered it down. The problem I see happening is that a lot of people that went on forbearance or didn't make payments are going to have issues where they didn't pay their property taxes in their escrow, right? Yep. So most people escrow, which means that they put their property taxes with their payment. So if their payment would have been without property taxes $2,000, but with taxes $2,400 a month, that sends to the mortgage company, right? So if they didn't pay their full payment for 6-8 months, and they're hitting the end of their forbearance and they didn't pay taxes at all in their escrows, we are going to see some people with some major delinquency issues going into next year. And then on top of that, Ian and I are both in Austin. We passed Prop A and B, which is going to add, let's be honest, they lied about how much the tax would be. Ian's got an opinion on it. I want to hear it. But they lied about how much that tax increase was going to be. And so we're going to see a significant tax increase. Plus, we didn't see a huge tax increase because we sued CoreLogic and the city for selling our proprietary data. So there's going to be a huge tax increase come June of next year. But I think on top of that, people might not have been paying taxes. And that's going to be almost a 22% fine on a lot of these taxes to the panel. So Katie, do you think that would be an issue in Houston with people that haven't been paying their taxes and they get hit with a huge tax bill or a huge delinquency in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that could be an issue. I think depending on when people went into forbearance, obviously they may have already had money in their escrow account, because when people first move in, there's a small buffer that's put in. But as far as being able to pay their full tax bill, come January, that does concern me for sure. I mean, I think that, we've talked about it a lot offline. Obviously, I know you've talked about it a lot online. But yeah, I mean, there's really, I don't know that there's a great solution to that, honestly. You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry. Tim, are you going to see that in the San Antonio market?
Yeah. So one, you brought up a good point on taxes, where when you buy property, file whatever exemptions you qualify for and argue your taxes every year. And it's kind of an annoying thing to do, but the more you argue it, the more you keep it down, the more money you save in the long run, the longer you own that property. So it's very important that you argue your property taxes, because they will raise them every chance they get. I think what Katie was saying, and Hello and Bye mentioned, can you sell without paying the bank? You cannot sell without paying the bank. The bank wants their money. But with most of these situations right now, people have the equity in their home to sell and have the money to pay the bank and get out of their house. The worry that I have, they just extended the forbearance program and stop foreclosures through January 1st for a lot of loans, or end of January for a lot of loans. The problem is, forbearance isn't a free pass, right? Forbearance isn't saying you don't owe the money anymore. And the more time they go without paying, the more they're racking up what you guys are getting at, which is that big bill. When they finally get back to work and they finally get their stuff back together, they're going to owe this big lump sum and be in this situation where they need to get out of it, right? And they need to sell, or they take some high interest loan to do it. They take a tax loan with a 19% interest rate or something crazy to try to stay in their house. And so those situations are awful. I really don't enjoy them, but I do think we will get them. But like Ian is saying, the government is doing everything they can to have them happen slowly, because 08, one of the many reasons that 08 happened was because of the fact it happened so quickly. And if those things hit the market all quickly and all at the same time, that's when you see this price drop out. You see the ground fall out from underneath people, and everything changes. Whereas if, like I said, I hate talking about these situations this way, but if these unfortunate situations happen slowly and gradually, that inventory gets eaten up by this market that needs inventory, and we don't see some big change in the market. If they turn around and say tomorrow, forbearance program's over, you guys are all due, everything's due January 1st, tough luck, figure it out, that would have a very negative impact, because you'd have people rushing to the market to sell their houses, dropping the price of their houses to sell quickly, dragging prices down. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just, with the amount of people moving here, with the amount of investors trying to buy because they're speculating because all these companies are moving here. I mean, investors are going to be hurt by these tax issues. Well, I don't think investors will be hurt by the tax issues as far as not making payments. I think investors will be hit next year with the rise in taxes, where they're not making as much on their investment. And, I think, in Austin, maybe we'll see a huge price increase in what rental values are, but do we get those next year? I don't know.
But that's the thing too. You take the property tax increases, you take the losses that some investors are feeling because of the fact that, there's no evictions and they have tenants and they're not paying. Some, like, this is there are a couple instances of this, I'm sure, but I don't think it's a widespread thing. So you have maybe some vacancy is up, maybe some rent is having tougher time getting collected. But I think in the long run, the appreciation and the rent growth outpaces the tax growth, right? And the low interest rate. So you take the benefits of the low interest rate, the benefit of appreciation, the benefit of rental growth. And from an investment perspective, I don't think the increase in taxes will be too big of a deal.
One thing too on taxes, like kind of just to circle back, is Texas is a non-disclosure state. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to tell the CAD, the county appraisal district, what you paid for your home. So if you're buying a home or you're a recent homeowner, you don't have to tell them what you paid for your home. And I know that's not the same in some other states. It's public data. So your home sells and it goes on the board and everyone can see it, right? Here, it's more protected. So when the county appraisal district calls you and says, hey, Ian, how much do you pay for your home? You can say, I don't know. Have a great day. Hang up the phone.
Yeah.
So that helps in the protest. Is I think Tim said, you want to protest your taxes every year. You do. So yeah, you want to obviously keep things as low as possible and not tell them, what you paid.
And guess who's working on a project with a very big company that does protesting to help give discounts to people on his channel?
Ian, you are so smart.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been working on that for a little while now.
Great job, Ian.
I do have a partnership that I'm working on with a tax company, so I will get you that information shortly. We've been working on some details, so I hope that works out because it'd be great to get. Really, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to. It's the way I'm working is where I'm not making money on it, but it's going to the people on my channel who need help. So that's the way we're working it. So, Ian. Jump in, dude. You've been
things to say. Yeah, waiting just to make sure everybody has the floor because this is a very important topic. So here's where I worry when people have these three things going on. So forbearance, right? So they've been under forbearance. Maybe they lost their job or are having a tough time paying. Maybe their partner lost their job or something to that effect. Then the neighborhood that they're in, because so many people are moving here, the property taxes are rising to the point where it's starting to cause a problem. People are paying, so the list price, they're paying 20, 30, 40,000 over list price, inflating the value of the entire area. So those are two things. And then the third thing are the people that don't know or aren't well informed about homestead, or they're investors and it's not a primary property. So they don't have that tax cap. I think if all three of those things hit one person, that is the recipe for disaster, that trifecta. And I see that being a very real concern in a lot of these areas.
Muted again? Man.
Is this your first rodeo?
Yeah,
right.
This is the first time.
This isn't my first rodeo, but not a sponsor of the channel. Yeah. Texas Bourbon.
Trying to get sponsored over here, guys.
Yeah. So real quick, Adi Rowe. Hello, buddy. Okay, there we go. Got him out of there. All right. So what it sounds like most of us are saying, and I think Jeff kind of hit the nail on the head here. By the look of it, y'all seem happy. So Jeff, just a little precursor. It's y'all, not you all. Just, we'll work on that with you, buddy. Thanks a big plus when considering moving to Texas. Thank you for streaming. Happy holidays to y'all. Thank you for the comment, man. Appreciate you. Look, I think the worry for most people going into 2021 is that we are going to see a crash. And what I'm hearing from most of us is that inventory continues to be a problem. While we do see some hiccups in the road, right? We all see some major issues that are going to be coming with the amount of people vacating their states. And this is what I said in my last video. So watch that. Go to my YouTube channel, Jeremy Knight. Just kidding. But seriously, what I had said in that video is that with the influx of people moving here to get out of their situation to a state that's not locked down, that is doing things differently than other states, that is a lower tax bracket, right? We don't have a huge income tax, but we do have a huge property tax. This is very attractive for a lot of people. So 2021, while we may see some hiccups, looks like we're all pretty much saying that it's going to be really hard for somebody to buy a home because there's not going to be inventory. Am I right?
Yeah. Can we pitch ourselves and say who you work with matters? Because we see buyers that work with agents that don't know the market and don't know the ins and outs of this process, and their buyers end up losing as a result. And, look, you work with us, you work with somebody else, that's fine. Just don't work with the first person that talks to you. Work with the person that's going to best help you out, because there are real issues in the market. And,
Yeah.
we have this thing in our minds that real estate is a good investment, right? Everybody tells you that real estate's a good investment. Real estate's a good investment when you do it the right way. And that's why it's important that you work with somebody that knows what they're talking about. And hopefully when you listen to this, you found somebody at least that you think knows what they're talking about.
I'm going to ask all of you this. So you made a really, really good point, Tim. So let me ask all of you, if a client comes to you and says, I want to buy in this specific neighborhood, and you know that the tax rate is astronomical, like Katie said in a video the other day, 4% tax rate. I don't know if she really said that, but I'm pretty sure she did. She did. 4% tax rate. I'm going to go around the horn, start with Ian. Do you warn people about the potential side effects of that? Go, Ian.
Oh my God, absolutely. One of my most watched videos is exactly that. It talks about the taxes in different areas because people don't understand it. They don't understand that the sales price is just one part of the equation. You buy a house, your mortgage is $1,000, and then you get your property taxes, and those are $1,400, and you're like, wait, what? So when you're looking at your total payment, the tax portion is huge, and if you can drop that by $200 or $300 or $400 a month, that's going to make a big difference on where you decide to move or your budget when you're looking in a place. So I think that's absolutely a critical part of the conversation. And no offense to new agents, but like new agents or people that aren't familiar with the areas, or even first-time home buyers or people relocating, if they don't understand that and all of the other elements that are part of this transaction, it's the biggest transaction in your life. I think it's important to be educated about all facets, and the taxes are a big, big part of it.
I agree. Timo.
For me, a lot of our friends, right, all love the person that calls them. They show them one house, they write a contract, and they're done, right? Like as realtors, we are like, are ecstatic about that. For me, like I always am very nervous about that. I want our buyers to see their options because, like you're talking about, tax rate is one thing. The age of the house is another thing. How old the roof is another thing. How close it is to the highway. Is it in an area of growth or is it pretty far out in the country? Like, yeah, is the tax rate higher, but the home's newer and it's positioned better for appreciation? There's so many different things that go on when we're looking at a house that, as agents and as buyers and sellers, the more you can try to have a grasp on all of those things, the better decision you'll make. Like my house is in a pretty high tax rate. It's an older home. We've put a crap ton of money into it, but it's in an area where I know values will continue to go up. And so I don't mind paying the higher taxes. I don't mind putting more work into the house because I know the future appreciation and everything else, and future rentability and all that stuff is great. But maybe I go see all these houses and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have the lower tax rate a little further outside of town with a little bit longer commute, maybe not much opportunity for rapid appreciation because that's what I want. But you should do your best to understand all of those different facets of things. And as agents, of course we're talking about tax rate. Of course, we're talking about, where it's positioned and what it's positioned for future appreciation and all that fun stuff.
Can I piggyback off of Tim for just a half a second?
The
only thing I want to say is Tim made a good point. Your agent.
No, you can't give Tim credit for anything.
I have to. I texted Antonio. So just the fact that if you have an agent and and that agent is a good agent, listen to them, for crying out loud. I think it's really important that you understand the reason why your agents are saying the things they are. Some people think they know better, and that's okay. But what is it, keyboard warriors? Just because you can find something on Zillow's wrong a lot of the time on so many things. I've had people send me houses on Zillow, and those houses, they've already been sold and rented out.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what? It's listen to your agent. That's it. I'm done. Off my.
So as far as listening to agent, Katie, you're next. So I'm going to preface this Because with the question that we've gone a long way to get here. Do you talk to people about tax rates and things like that? Because I want to hear from you. Let's start with this comment from earlier. Katie Days the best deals.
I like it.
Houston, there you go. All right, Katie, let's hear you.
Yeah. So as far as tax rates go, it's definitely something that we go over. And I think to kind of, I don't want to reiterate what you guys already said, but another thing to add to what they've already said is also, this is why it's very important to work with a local lender and work with a lender that knows the local market. So all of our local lenders will be able to additionally help to advise you on how your taxes will impact your monthly payment. And a lot of the online lenders or big national companies where you just go online and you get a pre-approval from them, they don't understand how taxes work and how different neighborhoods may have different tax rates and things like that. So I know my local lenders always ask the buyer, you know, what zip codes are you looking in? What neighborhoods are you looking in? And things like that to be able to ensure that they're providing quotes and estimates with the right numbers on them. So that's just something that I always, you know, want to make sure we're on the same page from the beginning on. And if you're working with, you know, an online lender or a big national company, they're not going to give you that information.
Very good.
Another, I think, point on taxes as well, especially in an area like Houston where we have lots of revitalized neighborhoods and things like that, is if you're building a home or purchasing a home that was built on dirt, not in a subdivision, but just, you know, a new build home, a lot of times that value or that tax amount is on the value of the dirt, not the value of the actual house. So people get really surprised that second year when they go to pay taxes and, you know, their value has increased significantly because now there's a house on it and it's not just, you know, dirt with nothing there. So those are in addition to what the guys have already said, those are, you know, some other points that we always try to make sure our clients are aware of when they are buying in Houston.
And that's why we bring you on the channel, because you're fantastic. So, all right. So we have some really good comments here. Katie, so I want to get back to something you just said, because I think this is, and every single one of us will agree to this. But before I do, Nancy and Jack, hello. I love y'all. I met with them last week. We sat down, we chatted about their property. Amazing people. One of the best listing appointments I've ever gone to in my life. Really excited for you. CVS Customs from California, thinking about moving to Texas. Talked to this wonderful person. He's helped me out with my YouTube channel. Very great. He made it. Thank you. The next couple questions we go through are good statements. Don Wiggle, I see you. We're going to get you in 1 second. But first, I do want to make a point on what Katie said. Katie said something that was very profound. And this is something I know Ian and Tim and myself have all pounded our clients with. Like, you must do this. I told a client today, I will not work with you unless you work with a local lender. I literally told it. Those words out of my mouth. And here's my reason. And I just want to make sure, you know, Katie actually wrapped it up in a bow perfectly. So I won't go into too much detail, but local lenders have better pool appraisals they pull from, right? So if you're going over list price and you have to go into a multiple offer situation, you're going over list price and you're saying, look, I will make up the appraisal difference just to buy this home. You're going to have a little bit better experience potentially with that appraisal issue. All the other reasons Katie said are on point. Look, in Texas, if you do not make close date, that seller can take that home and put it back on market. And it with your lender and take your earnest money, and every dollar you've put up at that point is gone. So $500,000 house, $5,000 earnest money is gone. Your option money, your inspections, your appraisal, all that gone. Thousands of dollars gone because your lender did not make closing. Now, look, there's not every local lender isn't great, right? But at some point, you have to weigh, is interest rates offset by not getting that home and losing thousands of dollars that you've put up? Now, look, local lenders are always very competitive, especially mine. I know Ian uses a lot of the same lenders I use. Tim's got some great lenders. Katie's got some great lenders. So Ian said something very profound earlier. Listen to your agent. Please, if you are coming here and you're buying here, do not use an outside lender. Don't use a California lender. Don't use a big bank lender. Don't use I hate to say it, a Chase Bank of the world. You'll get screwed. I've had it happen. And here is something that I really want people to understand. And just, I want to get off this lender thing, but I had this experience happen and it was crazy how this happened. In Austin, the market's going up precipitously. If you put a house under contract, by the time if you put a new build under contract, by the time you make that close date, that house has so much equity built into it, you're in good shape. I've seen this happen. The builder's lender could not close on time. That client lost the property, lost their earnest money. The builder put that property back on the market. They lost every single dollar they spent at that point. And it's happened. It almost happened to one of my clients if they did not have a local lender in tow. So it's super important you have at least consult with a local lender. Go ahead. Anybody else?
I just want to double down on what you said. There are a couple other things. If you're relocating and you get here and your house isn't here, that's another big upset in your life. And so always consider not just the apparent costs, but also the manage your risk. If you come here and you were selling a house, you can't close on this house, that affects the sale of it may affect the sale of your home, or you might have to rent, which costs you more time and money. So it's not just can they close on time, it's can they close on time and how does it affect your life if they don't? And a lot of people miss that mark. And Jeremy said it so many times so well.
My one other little tidbit is that as a listing agent, when we have competitive offers coming in and we've got 4 offers that are the top ones, they're all right around each other. As listing agents and as sellers, a lot of times we're favoring a local lender. So you may not even get the house you want under contract because you're not working with a local lender. If I have, 3 offers that are very similar and 2 of them are with Bank of America and one of them is with a local lender, there's a good chance the seller is going to feel more comfortable with that local lender.
Yeah.
That's it.
I feel like I have more to add to that too, but
is Jeremy trying to mute? Is he doing this as a joke now? Or is
yeah.
Jeremy,
here's the problem. My chair squeaks and then this makes noise. So I'm trying to be quiet in the middle of, I want to make sure that all of you say such profound things.
Prefer actually when you're muted.
Yeah, me too.
One other last thing that I'll say about lenders, and then I'm done talking about lenders for this evening, is as Tim just said, with having a local lender and, as a listing agent, I look at the lenders. I also call the lenders on the buyers that are putting in offers on our listings. I call the lender to say, hey, Tim Macy just is, put in an offer on this house. So if your lender takes a while to return your calls and isn't responsive, that should be a red flag to you. Because if I call, those top 3 offers that came in on this house, on this listing, and, one returns my call and the 2 others never return my call or email, that's a red flag to me as well. So just something to think about as you're a buyer shopping around for, your new mortgage for your new home. If someone isn't responsive, that could be an issue for you down the road.
I agree.
Yeah.
Katie,
can you call Chase at 7 p.m. on a Saturday?
Yeah, you can leave a message and they'll get back to you at some point.
That could be the difference between you winning a house or not.
Yeah.
What's Chase's last name? That's the important part.
Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Bank?
Yeah. No, not Chase Bank. So this is a question I've got a decent amount, and this is a good question for all of us. A lot of people move to Texas that are on VA, and this is maybe something I should do another video on. Ian, link to you, probably something you should do a video on. Tim works with a lot of VA. I know I work with a lot of VA. Katie in Houston, I'm sure, works with a ton of VA. Ian with his bright fuchsia shirt there. I don't even know what color that is.
I was mountain biking before this. I want to be seen.
Purple?
Yeah. If fuchsia's purple, I totally messed that up. You're matching the background. If I put a filter on, we wouldn't even see it. We just see your face. Anyway, all right. Sorry, the bourbon's talking on that one. My apologies. All right, we've been at this an hour and 45 minutes. So
there's lots of bourbon.
It's dude. I'm taking care of this bottle right here. So disabled veterans need to pay property tax 100%. Sorry, hold on. 100%. Disabled veterans do not pay taxes, at least in Travis County. Now, you need to look at every county differently. So I'll ask, y'all, if you have, you see how I use that word? Going back to the beginning of the thing, y'all. In your tax districts that you're aware of, do 100% disabled pay taxes in Texas?
I spend a lot of time in Williamson County, just north, and they do not.
Correct.
Thank you for saying
Correct.
I knew the answer to that because I work in Williamson County. Dad.
I know.
I thought you lived in Dallas.
Oh, that's
I don't know what no property tax. No property tax.
Yeah, Katie Day.
Yeah, the same.
And I like that Puerto Rican flag.
Yeah, and thank you for your service. All right. Yes. So Sanjeevi. Okay, I'm not even gonna try. Paul said he agreed with that. So I'm asking because it will increase my budget. He had asked. Oh, yes, correct. So yes, if you're asking because it'll increase your budget, I would definitely verify with your realtor. I would definitely verify with your lender before you purchase anything, whether you're doing VA or not. But I would verify with those two people. So there you go. Ian, go ahead.
I was going to say not only that, but it increases your purchasing power if you're using a VA just for closing costs in general. So just to tie into that.
Yep. So this is actually a pretty solid question here, and we got some really good questions in the chat. So how can I tell if a realtor's experienced? Number one, do they drink a lot? You know their experience. They drink a lot. So if they're on a live stream at almost 9 o'clock at night drinking Texas bourbon, you know they're super experienced.
This is commitment to work.
Commitment. So that's a good question because I get a lot of people that'll call me and they'll tell me, hey, by the way, I'm talking to 3 other agents and they want information from me. It happens all the time. And that's good. I want you to, every agent on this, I know wants people to do their due diligence. So what are some questions or what do you think separates a good agent from maybe a subpar agent? Ian, you're on top, so you start.
So I think you can judge the quality of the agents by the answer of their questions and if they listen to you, right? I think that's really important. Some agents will just say, yeah. And that's the first thing out of their mouth. Just sign an agreement and we'll get you settled. And that's not really doing you a service. You should understand that person's motivations for coming to a place or selling a property and what is most important in their life before you start recommending places. And I think a lot of people are transaction focused and not focused on what the client needs. So you can pick that up pretty quickly.
Sorry, I'm commenting in our private chat. Give me 1 second.
I'll jump.
And they have the YouTube channel. Sorry.
I think the number one thing you have to think of is trust, right? You have conversations with different agents, and who do you feel like you really trust? Because I mean, for me, I love working with our clients. We've been lucky enough to just have great clients that we really love working with. But if somebody doesn't trust me, it's very hard to go through this process because you're making, probably the largest purchase of your life. For most people, buying a home is the largest purchase they're going to make. It's the place they're going to live. It's very personal. And the number one thing you have to find in an agent is someone you trust and someone you don't feel like is selling you. If you're working with an agent and you feel like you're working with a salesperson, stop and go find somebody else, because you should not feel like you're working with a salesperson. You should feel like you're working with a partner and a consultant that is there acting in your best interest.
Katie Day, finish it off.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree. I think one thing that I think is very beneficial in Houston is that we have har.com, which is the public facing.
Oh, we're in Houston. We're so great.
Yeah, okay. So it's the public facing portal.
Houston's got the best online presence. Yeah.
But what's great about that website is that it has reviews, it has all of your past sales, it has your showings, so you can really get an idea of agents. And I always recommend, both to other real estate agents in other markets that are referring clients to Houston and interviewing agents in the city, as well as to actual, buyers that are interviewing agents in the city, to look at, my profile and anyone else that they're interviewing, because I know that we have the experience, right? And they can actually read actual client reviews because it gets sent to every single client that you work with. So I think that that's something that our association has done very well to ensure that we have a good online presence.
Cool. Katie Day, for anyone watching this channel, I only bring on people on this channel I find value in, minus Tim Macy. And just kidding. I only bring people I find value in that can add good value in what's going on in our markets, right? So the people on this channel right now, so I've had, if you've watched my channel, I've had plenty of people on these live streams that have had some really great insight in whether it's the area they're in, their perspective, or whatever it is. And so I do want to say real quick before we go through, and then there's some really other good comments. I do appreciate you all for being on here. I think that everyone on this group, while I give you all a hard time, especially those that live in Houston, Katie and Tim, for being in San Antonio, I really appreciate you. And I really do appreciate that you're on this channel, because you guys do an amazing job. And that's not the Texas bourbon talking.
He's getting soft.
I'm getting super soft. Look, y'all, I mean, you've been almost on this channel for 2 hours a night, so I really appreciate your time. But here's a really good question. Hold on. Before we get to this, I just saw this. Don Wiggle with the best comments, $20. Appreciate the info. Here's your next bottle. Thank you, man. I really, really appreciate you doing that. Look, I didn't start this channel to make a ton of money off of YouTube. And when people do stuff like this, it was really, really cool. So I really appreciate you. Look, everybody that's on here knows how hard I've worked on this channel and has been along for the ride with me. So they're great people. And so, Don, I appreciate you doing that. We love you. Okay, so here's a question that everybody in the chat on the back end has been blowing me up on, right? Here we go. This question. At Jeremy Knight, Moving to Austin Guide. Is it true that now you can sell your home for only 2% commission by doing it online in place of 6% with traditional sales rep? I will answer the question, yes, if you're crazy. Go ahead. I want to hear the rest of you.
Well, who gets to take it? Who are you going to give it to first?
Tim, since you spoke up, you should go.
Yeah, Tim.
No.
Hold on. In the chat, Katie brought it up first. So, Katie, you're up. I put you straight on the spot. Go.
I am on the spot. Yes. So there are lots of different websites out there and lots of different companies out there where you can pay a whole range of commission to sell your home. Generally, what they're going to do is they're going to put it online and then wait for something to happen. And while that may work out for you, it's generally not going to be the way that you're going to maximize the amount of money that you will make on your sale. So as far as that goes, and I can speak for pretty much everyone on this channel, we all have very robust marketing campaigns that we do for our listings and for the homes that we sell. That involves a lot more than just putting it online. And it's become a very relationship-based business. And that is something that we all focus on as far as selling homes.
All right.
Macy, let's hear it.
For me, listen, I'm all for a free market. I'm very much a capitalist. Like, if a service is out there and wants to try to sell a house for less.
I'm pretty sure at the beginning of this, you pretty much told us how you stand. So continue. My apologies.
So I'm all for somebody doing it for cheaper. What is tough is I believe what they're talking about is Rex, right? And what Rex does is they put it on their own thing and it doesn't make the MLS. And what they tell you is that you're not going to have to pay a buyer's agent. But the way I've seen it play out, and I've seen it play out multiple times in our market is somebody says, hey, I can list with these guys for 2%, right? And it's not on all of the services. It's not on MLS. It's not getting advertised where buyers are actually looking. And what happens is that it sits on the market for a while, right? And then it sits on the market for a while. Finally, they get a buyer. And guess what? That buyer has an agent. And now they're stuck negotiating on paying the buyer's agent, which they were told they weren't going to have to pay. And then, they end up paying 5% or whatever they end up paying, but they don't end up paying this thing that they're sold on, that they're only going to pay this lower commission deal. And the thing is everybody is trying to save a percent when I'm over here, like getting our buyers closing costs and getting our buyers the homes they want, right, on the buy side, because people trying to save money when they buy and then end up getting a house they don't want and missing out on the house they love because they're trying to save money is something that I see happen. And it's frustrating, right? Like, it's frustrating for me to watch people not get the house they want because they're sold on this idea of saving money. And then on the seller side, and look, sellers a lot of times are in tough situations where they need to save money. And they're going to these solutions because they feel like it's the solution that's going to help them out. And then what happens is they end up selling their property for less. They end up selling their property with longer days on market. And ultimately, they would have been better off getting their property sold in the first weekend, going with a better agent who charges more, but gets some more money. So that's my rant. And it's only my rant because I've just seen it play out. And it's frustrating to watch it play out.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. And I've seen it play out, even, those services that say we'll buy your home cash, but they have a 45-day option that you don't realize if you're a seller for the first time. And they say, oh, it's only going to be 1 to 4% or whatever. And then they come back toward the end and they ask you for $30,000 in repairs, but your house was built in 2016. House is just built. How are you going to come up with what do you mean $30,000 in repairs? And people get, I kid you not, I have a client that the buyer was offering them $100,000 less than the house is worth because they knew that they were backed into a corner. Right? You could have paid the realtor, whatever percentage in your market and not had that issue. So that's one thing. And then you have to think, if a realtor is discounting themselves and their work, how strong do you think they'll be able to negotiate on behalf of you? And we hear that all the time as well. And I think those are two very important things to consider when you're looking.
In Looking Glass, my thing is, most of these services, what they're doing is, you don't have anybody that is a fiduciary to you, right? You don't have anybody working for you. So you're saving money, but you don't have anybody that's working for you. And I don't know if you can tell how passionate we are about what we do and about the work we do, but we're very passionate about helping people. And look, some people are sophisticated enough and they sell houses all the time, and maybe they feel comfortable taking a shot at one of these discount services because they don't feel like they need somebody working for them. And that is what it is. But I think most people are helped when they get someone that works for them and works with their best interests in mind. And that's what the big difference is.
Yeah. And I agree with all of you. I mean, look, this is something we face in the market constantly, and you can do this. But I think we're talking about REX.
Yeah.
See, I didn't say the word.
One. That's only one. There are a few.
That's
like
one.
that. Yeah, that's a one.
But I didn't say the word. See, you see,
Yeah.
so they want to come after me. I didn't say it. Tim, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You can do it, right? If you think as a seller that is the best option for you, and you've gone through and you've weighed all your options, you went through and you've talked to other agents or whatever you've done, and you've done your due diligence, you want to do it. There's nobody on this channel right here that's going to stop you from doing it, right? You got to do what's best for you. And what everyone has said and pleaded their case for is very important, because if you have done your due diligence and this is the best option for you, go ahead and do it. The reality is, it's the conversation that every single one of us has had with our clients. hey, that listing is listed by X company. Here's what you will have to pay in addition to whatever contract we write. Do you want to go see that house?
Yeah.
And the answer 99.9% of the time is hell no. I don't want to see that house. So you have to think about that. As agents, we look at what the commission base is on the back end, whether you like it or not, right? And we will tell clients honestly about that property. We are very honest. The people on this channel are very honest. And I've talked about this earlier. But the reality is that we are going to tell you, hey, here's the issues with that house. And we're going to do it with every property, no matter what the commission is on the back end. But the reality is that we're going to tell you what you're going to have to pay. And once you realize what you're going to have to pay on top of that, you're going to say, nah. So as a seller thinking about doing that, you're going to go, I might save some money, but it's going to cost you a lot of money in the turnaround.
I think the biggest thing to keep in mind outside of the commission, and this is something that, I've been in situations where I've talked to sellers that are also looking at other, online brokerages or online solutions, is actually, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say is, I know by the amount of homes that we've sold and the kind of company that I keep as far as, my business coach and online, mastermind groups like, this one, is that we have come across many different situations. So an online service or something with a discount fee or whatever it may be great if you're selling your home and it all goes well. So we're talking about that it's a hot market, properties are selling quickly, but that doesn't mean that it's an easy process. And I think that our goal, and I think I speak for everyone on the channel today, is that our goal is to ensure that we're making it as easy as it is, or as stress-free for you, right, as the seller. So, we're making sure that we are foreseeing possible issues and, negotiating the contract and ensuring that we're reaching out to lenders and taking the path that makes the most sense for you. So if it's an easy process and all goes well, then that's great and passively you save some money. But if it's not, like where I really truly feel I earn my money is getting you from contract to close and negotiating that.
Agreed.
Right. So I would love to say that every transaction is easy, but especially now and especially in these times with everything that's happening socially and health-wise, there are a lot of things that have come up with appraisals and with lenders and with things that like haven't ever happened before. And we've been having to navigate that all year. So if you have someone that you can only call, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, that's not going to be good for you. So,
yeah, it's going to be an issue. I just want to point out, we have broken the record on my channel, 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Nice.
It's past my bedtime. I know that because my bedtime's 9 p.m. So this is
it? Okay, so we're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon. So get your last minute questions in because we're going to wrap up soon.
Can I just say one thing just to kind of like finish this point?
We don't acknowledge anybody from Dallas. So
South Dallas in the house?
South Dallas, yes, go ahead.
All right. Okay, so the question you have to ask yourself is, if you know that someone selling a house is doing everything that they can to cut costs and cut corners, what do you think the condition of that house is going to be in? What is your perception? I'm not saying it is, but what is your perception of the condition of that house? The repairs that are being completed, the
buyer's perception.
Process of, say it again?
What's the buyer's perception?
Yeah, what's the buyer's perception? I know myself as an agent, and let me know if you guys feel the same way or ladies feel the same way. If you see a house and it has, like a cheap lockbox, or, the marketing is just terrible on the house, or that it's a discounted commission for any realtor, how do you feel about it? And how do your clients feel about it? In my opinion, in my experience, it's almost always they probably didn't get their permits, or they just, lipstick on a pig type repairs. That's the feeling that I get off the bat. And immediately I tell my clients that exact thing. I say, you know what? This is a concern because X, Y, and Z. So it hurts that seller.
Yep, for sure. So, all right. So let's move past this. We've beat this horse. It is dead. It is now glue. So Tim has fallen asleep at this point. Our home's going to, last question. Our home's going to go down in price in a couple of years after everybody slows down from moving the supply chain high again. There we go. Last answer.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, it's always a maybe, but there are too many jobs and too many opportunities that I don't see that happening for a while.
Me either.
A very long
Katie?
while.
I would agree with what you guys already said.
I think 2022, here's my prediction. And I've been wrong once before, just once. So I think 2022 is going to be a rough year. 2021 is going to be a crazy year. 2022, I think some of the tax issues are going to catch up to us. I think we'll see a leveling in taxes or a leveling in prices. And then 2023, 2024, we're going to see another election. So that's going to be another election year, which is going to be a crazy, crazy year because that's what happens every time in an election year. I mean, this year's no exception. So there you go. I think by 2024, we'll see maybe some uncertainty, but we'll probably see low inventory again in 2024. So if you're going to buy now, sell in 2025. There you go. Oh my God. Questions that came through like crazy. Tim, go take a nap.
Dude, I gotta go to bed. We got
All right,
5
man.
5 a.m. is gonna be here soon.
All right. So say goodbye, Tim, and we'll keep going if anybody else wants to
See ya.
relay.
Yeah.
All right. Tim's out. Cry baby. Jeez. Just
That's
kidding. I love Tim.
That's San Antonio for you. I didn't, I expected that.
I just get it. For anyone giving Tim a hard time, he's a great guy. Love that guy. So he's out. Let's see. As a realtor from Greater San Antonio area, seeing this group for the first time, great content. Jason, thank you, my man. All right, Charles, that's good for me. 2025, that's when you should sell. There you go. Excellent conversation. Joel, thanks for coming back. Thanks, y'all. See how he said y'all? Thank you.
Yeah, you did well.
Looking Glass Charles, there will never be a surplus of homes in the ATX area again because of the number of people moving here. Home builders will not be able to keep up. Plus, out of land. There you go. Looking Glass, nailed it. I mean, you want to join my real estate team? I'm looking for more people. Sorry, Ian, but we're looking for more people. What are good resources to check out? Builders and agents. Katie, what was it that you said about HAR for Houston?
Yeah, so har.com is for Houston where you should look for homes, but then also you can go to find an agent and you can look up agents. Let me see if I can.
Oh, look at Ian. Ian, I pulled. Your thing is still in here, so I just.
Oh, I can HAR.
Can you see
No,
my
no,
screen?
you're good.
Got it open.
Oh, here we go. Katie, got it. Go.
Yeah, so if you go to har.com, you can come up here to agents and you can find a real estate agent. So from here, you can search them. And so if you were to like type in, someone's name and just randomly type in a name and hit search, you can then see, if they have what their history is, how many listings they have, if they have social media, if they had a bio video.
Wait, is that your bio?
Their
Smart.
sales. So you can
Smart.
see across the, region kind
Wait,
of.
scroll
where
back.
they're
Scroll back
selling.
up. Scroll back up. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Right there. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Trying
yeah.
to self-promote on my
And
channel.
then,
Get
like
out of here.
creating, things
Get out of
like
here,
that. Just
Katie
seeing,
Day. Get out of here, Katie Day.
Just for example, No, but in all seriousness, here in Houston, every agent has a profile on that site, so it's a good way to go online and see, reviews and whatnot and properties. So
Very cool. Ian, we're down to the end of this, and a lot of people have asked some Austin questions. I know you've watched some of these Austin questions in the back end. Ooh, here you go, BG. The best thing about Austin is the 130 tollway that goes around the city of Austin. I honestly did not read that question until I clicked on it. Smart.
That's pretty.
Tex back on the channel again. I moved to Texas from Silicon Valley during the pandemic. Tried out Austin and Dallas. Dallas felt like safe choice, but felt akin to a boring marriage.
That's why I laughed. That was hilarious.
but I should thank Austin. So look, here's the deal. That's why nobody on this channel is from Dallas. Oh, Ricky.
Right.
So we've answered that question pretty nice. There you go.
That's amazing.
All right. All right, folks. That's the end. We're at 2 hours and 10 minutes. I appreciate everybody on. Katie. Oh, hold on. Let me get out of here. Hold on. Let's clear the screen. How do I do this? Oh my gosh. The bourbon's taking over. Oh, here we go. Okay.
The button right there.
There you go. The button right there. Okay. So, oh wait, hold on. One more from Charles. Hold on. Charles, you scared me last time, Jeremy, when you told me the story about if the lender and the bank didn't have all their paperwork done at closing, they could sell the house from underneath you. 100% true. 100%. I've seen it happen. It is not cool. For sale by owners says awesome. Thank you, Katie. There you go. For sale by owners, thank you. I actually sent you a message the other day. Scotch is my drink of choice. Jason, back on the channel. Thank you again, sir. Okay. Ian, parting words. Let's hear your parting words.
Austin, especially Austin. I don't know about Houston, but especially Austin. We welcome you. We're on Jeremy's channel, so make sure that you reach out to him and then call me or something like that. And also, I think if you're considering relocating here, do your homework. I think we've echoed that a bunch of times, and it's still an amazing place. I think it offers a lot of opportunity, and we're excited to be here for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian. Katie Day, parting words.
Yeah. So Jeremy, again, thanks for having me. Always a fun time. And appreciate the opportunity to be able to defend Houston on a Austin-based channel. But I think all joking aside, and we all make fun of each other's cities, Texas as a whole is an amazing place to live. If I didn't live in Houston, I would totally live in Austin and maybe in San Antonio, probably not. But no, Texas is a great place to live. It's a great place to start a business, start a family, raise a family, go to school, all of the things. So feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions, for sure.
Awesome. So my parting words are thank you so much for joining us. I mean, for those that stayed through for the full 2 hours, I appreciate you. Again, the people on this channel, I brought them on for a lot of reasons. Number one, amazing people. Katie Day out of Houston. What she just said is so true. While we like to give each other a hard time, it's a Texas thing, y'all. So, I love my Texas people. Ian of Austin, while I give him a hard time living north, he is my north guy. I work with him on a daily basis. We talk to each other pretty much daily. Katie Day, we text each other quite often, and she harasses me constantly.
That day and night thing going on too.
We have, yeah. So Katie Day, welcome back to the channel. Everyone, thank you so much for all of this. I really do appreciate y'all. Look, make sure you share, comment, like, all of those things. I really do appreciate that. This year has been a crazy year. We went from not having very many subscribers over 4,000. So I really appreciate every single person that has made this channel special. I owe you all a round of beer. If you come into Austin, give me a call. Me and Nina will meet you and have a drink. Katie, she won't because she eats oysters or something like that down in, I don't know. I don't even know what they do down in Houston anymore. I'm just kidding. One last question. Good show. Thanks for all you do. We'll catch the next one. Would be good if people from New York City would relocate to Austin, California, or LA, California. People from LA, California. There's a lot there. So, all right, there you go. Have a great night. Everybody wave.